So this right here is our entrepreneur business panel, and I'm going to be calling on everyone. So if you're having your own conversation, that means you have something to say, and I'm just going to say, hey, this guy has something to add or a question, so I'm going to be looking for that. All right, my first guest, and first of all, I just want to say, I've talked to everybody that's coming up here, and if we could not have a better panel of entrepreneurs. So they did a very good job picking these people, because I know that a majority of them are are well into seven-figure businesses within 3 years, or knocking on the door of a seven-figure business within 3 years, which is amazing. And there's not, and anybody that started a business and probably failed once or twice knows that it's not easy. And so a lot of times we learn from what not to do, like I have. So my first guest is going to be Casey Lawrence, J-Dog Junk Removal. There we go. Right here. You're gonna be next to me. I'm gonna put Johnny way on the other side, because I can't show favoritism. Next guest is gonna be Belinda Clear, Rural Mercantile. Did I do that right? Okay. And then you guys have heard his name way too much this VetXpo. Stephen Barber, State Farm insurance agent. I'm glad he's bringing that hat up here too. Represent Texas. Now I'm gonna tell a little bit of story. In 1993, I was 11 years old. I got a woman pregnant, and you turned around. I saw that. You got your attention, didn't it? So, and then it was kind of a bad breakup, and then she went off, and I never knew about the kid or whatnot. And a couple years ago, I think it's been Rebecca, a couple years ago now. Yeah, I had this kid show up on my door with this whole scheme of this business and everything, and come to find out, he was actually my long lost son, but Johnny Slicks, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah. None of that's true, that we know for sure. The timing and locations add up, but we're not 100% sure. And we have an extra microphone, and let's start with Casey. So pass it down. So what I'm going to do is I want you guys to give us a 60-second elevator pitch of your military service and your current business.
Can you hear me? Is this good? My name is Casey Lawrence. I served 6 years in the U.S. Army Infantry, stationed in Fort Lewis, and now I am an owner of J-Dog Junk Removal. We're a franchise nationwide, and pretty much what we do is everything, from one single item to tearing down houses and buildings, and our main mission is to provide opportunities for military veterans. So, thanks for having me.
My name is Belinda Clear. I was in the U.S. Army National Guard and then Reserve for a total of 9 years. My company is called Rural. I have the Rural Mercantile in North Missouri, which is a boutique and coffee bar in the cutest little Amish tourist town you've ever been in, or you should visit if you've never been there. And so my brand focuses on the rural community and the rural lifestyle, but I've taken it a step further, and everything I carry is either from a U.S.-based brand or artisan in addition to my own, to really keep that culture and fit.
Stephen Barber. I was in the Army for just a little under 4 years. I was in 175 75th Ranger Regiment over in Savannah, Georgia. Got out about 6 years ago. When I got out, I worked for an agent, for a State Farm agent here in Arlington for 2.5 years, and then I opened my doors October 1st of 2016. So I'm a State Farm agent now. And I am, our mission, we just try to educate everybody as best we can and to make sure that they're properly protected, and we don't try to peddle policies or anything. We're trying to produce as much as we can, but also in the right way. And yeah.
I'm Johnny Slicks. I was in the Marine Corps from 2012 to 2016. I was an armorer, and before you judge, I was probably the coolest armorer you have ever met. I let you guys clean your weapon on your own time, but we make organic grooming products, beard care, hair care, skin care, and we're very honest, very transparent with our customers, and we like to educate them and tell them about ingredients, the benefits of using good ingredients, and the negative effects of using bad ingredients, obviously. But yeah, we're just doing one product at a time, helping out one person at a time.
Casey, can you give me talk about how you got involved with the franchise and how long you've been at it?
Yeah. So when I got out in 2013, and I did what every military vet usually does, and that's follow your dream, all over the country. And I started with J-Dog 2016, January is when we actually started, but it wasn't so simple. I didn't even think I would ever be a business owner, let alone a trash man. It's pretty much what I am, glorified trash man. But I got a call, I don't know, probably the summer of 2015 from my mom, who she didn't raise me, so we were kind of getting reconnected, and my story can explain all that at another time, but so she's like, hey, we want to get a franchise and we want you to run it. I'm like, you sure you got the right son on the phone here? I don't know anything about it. And I said, okay, well, what is it? And she goes, well, it's junk removal. I go, once again, are you sure you have the right son on the phone? Because, I mean, I was infantry, I used to fight wars, and I was this guy, and you want me to pick up trash? Come on. So I gave it a shot.
It's a professional working party.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, come on. But I gave it a shot, and about 6 months into actually doing it is when it really hit me. I saw the community around me just go from like, who are you, to call these people. And that's what I knew. I had a real passion for growing a business, not just, a business in America, but growing a veteran-based business, because, I try to have as many of my guys and women to be military veterans. So that's kind of how it started, and now it kind of it blossomed into this really awesome roller coaster of a ride that every single day I just want to learn something else from all these leaders out here that are around y'all. So yeah, that's kind of how it started.
You're about to hit your 4th year?
January would be my 4th year. Yeah.
And about to turn 31.
Yeah, I'm turning 31 next week.
All right.
Yeah.
Belinda?
Don't ask me that question when that comes up. No, I'm kidding. So the way my business started, I was involved in corporate HR in Kansas City for many years, and I made the transition with my family to move to North Missouri, which is a very rural community where I grew up. And there's not a lot of corporations out in the middle of cornfields and cattle. So my job opportunities were going to be limited unless I went and did remote work. But I had made the choice to stay at home with my boys. And I, as much as I love my children, stay-at-home moms, you have my heart, because that's a hard job and I could not do it. I had to get back into finding my purpose and drive and be a part of something. And so the way I try to connect with my local community was doing different events. I actually started small with like painting parties to meet other women that I didn't know. And a couple of them came to me one day and they're like, that design, that is just awesome. You should put it on a t-shirt. I would totally buy it. I'd wear it all the time. And I went to school for graphic design. That's one of my degrees. And I thought, I could do that. I could go screen that shirt for you. And then it just snowballed and it kept growing and growing. And then it outgrew me. And then I had to start bringing in other designers for wholesale to grow my business and also support it, because there's no way I could support it by myself. My family dynamic, unfortunately, was changing. I was going through a difficult time at home in my marriage, and I knew I would eventually be exiting that, and it was a very difficult time. And so I had to fight to figure out, okay, I have this new business that at this point is debt-free because I have self-invested any penny that I would have made back into growing it. How can I live off of this and support 2 boys and make a living, and not only live off of it, but grow it and keep it going? And so I hinged off the advice of others. I followed other influential people to see what decisions they were making and really absorb all that. And by some miraculous opportunity, it happened. I now have a storefront. I didn't need to have the storefront, but I felt it was a way I could give back to that community that gave me a sense of purpose to develop something that initially I didn't have, which was a rural lifestyle apparel company that was inspired by my community. And so I gave them that. In the little town of 400 people, you can find my store, and I'll keep it there, even though 65% of my business is online. And so it's been great, and it's been growing rapidly every year, and I just look forward to everything it's going to inspire into in the future.
Well, thanks. I'm glad I get to follow that. So, I sell insurance. So, my way less impressive journey started when my sister actually worked for a State Farm agent, and I grew up in Flower Mound here. And when I got to the Army, I went to school first. I got a degree in marketing, and then I didn't really want to do any of that. And then I graduated in 2009, so I went and I did what smart people do, and I enlisted in the Army. And something I'd always wanted to do anyway. I always wanted to be an Army man, and you'd ask me when I was like 4 years old. That's what I wanted to do. And also growing up, I always wanted to own my own business. No idea what it was in. It didn't really matter. That was stuff I'd figure out later. So as I got out, it was kind of a whole, what do you want to be when you grow up kind of stuff. And we did a lot of praying, me and my wife, and we were moving back here. And I remember asking, even when I was, I think, sophomore, junior year in college, I was interviewing around, trying to figure out what I wanted to do, interviewing different companies. And my sister, actually, my younger sister, was at a State Farm agency, and she's like, you should probably look into this. I feel like you'd be pretty good at it. And this guy makes decent money, and he travels around. He wins these trips and stuff. It seems pretty cool. Then I told her she was an idiot because insurance is not sexy or cool, and I was gonna do something sexy or cool. So then I went and did the cool guy stuff for a little bit, and then when I came back, I remember having to call her and was like, so looking into this State Farm thing. She's like, oh, you're doing what? So as I got out, I never sold anything in my life. I ended up I got an opportunity to work for the most successful State Farm agent in the history of the company. It was in Arlington, Texas, and it just started kind of falling in place. And I give Gallantfew and Carl and this organization all the credit for where I'm at now, because it was a huge risk. I had a daughter, I had a wife, and no idea what I was doing. And I knew that if it didn't work out, or I sucked at it, or I hated it, or whatever, that I could lean on Gallantfew to get me a job, at least so I could provide for my family. So 2.5 years with him, and then there was a retirement in Fort Worth area. It's a smaller little town called Lake Worth, and it's just a suburb of Fort Worth, and that's where my office is. There was a retirement. I took part of her book, and I started on October 1st, and now we were 33rd in the country, I guess, for first-year agents. We were the top new agent in agency in the state of Texas that year, and then we've grown a ton, and now I started with 3, now I have 7 employees, and it's been extremely stressful and mind-numbing and horrible and awesome and great all at the same time.
He just summed up all entrepreneurship in one sentence.
That was actually pretty spot on, yeah. So I couldn't say it better. So my story goes a little bit deeper than actual words, because we sacrifice so much. But it started with a problem. In 2016, I was getting ready to separate out of the Marine Corps, and someone mentioned to me, they said, "Hey, your hair's thinning." And as you all can see, I have nice hair. I take pride in it. So they said, your hair's thinning. And I said, you're joking with me, right? Funny. Yeah. So I looked in the mirror the next morning. I was styling my hair. And I did see my scalp through my hairline. And I was like, this is a problem. My family, they have great genetics with hair. This shouldn't be happening to me at 22, 21, whatever it was, in the early 20s. So I immediately started looking for a solution. I don't know if any of you guys buy organic products online, but the price is not cheap. They're not cheap until now, obviously. But So I looked up these products and I was like, I need hairstyling products, $40 for a little jar. I couldn't do that. I was getting ready to separate out of the Marine Corps, so I was trying to save up for the separation. And so I decided, something clicked in my brain, and I said, organic, that must mean that I can go outside, ideally, and pick ingredients and make the products, right? So that's what started the whole process of me looking into organic products, ingredients, and making them myself. And go and find out. It's a lot more difficult than it just sounds to just go outside and pick some ingredients and put them in a pot, right? So this took I would say about 9 months of me just burning up ingredients. I'd do research on ingredients that I wanted to use, and she'd come home from work and it would smell something awful in the kitchen because I'm burning everything up in the cooking pots. But eventually, we actually did find the formula, and the formula of the pomade, the hairstyling we use now. But the thing was, I already used every dime I had. I had nothing. I was having trouble finding work. My wife Rebecca, she was actually working a double as a manager, so luckily she was able to pay the rent and all that, and keep the kitchen electric working, so I can keep burning stuff up. But we found out you can sell plasma. You can sell it to make an extra couple dollars. And with everybody else in the service, we all have vaccinations. So they give you a little bit more extra if you have vaccinations. So I was getting about $70 a week for just selling plasma, and she was getting like $50 a week. 100% of that money went straight to ingredients, went straight into the products, and unfortunately resulted in a lot of failures. So us selling plasma went into jars and ingredients being tossed out in the trash. So we're tossing our blood away, but it ended up working out okay because we ended up making a formula and buying everything. But the thing was, we couldn't afford lids for the jars. So how can I sell them without lids? Go to the plasma center, sell some blood, buy the lids, and pass them around. Sell the product. And 2 years later, I find out that this man right here, he supports veteran businesses. And I was like, well, I need a Kickstarter. I need something to get me going. So I hounded him and Ms. Capra for about 6 months, and back and forth, from my side only. So I guess back? Forth? They didn't answer me. They were like, this kid, whatever. So I finally got through to them, and I came by their office, and I forced them to try the beard products and the hair products, and they ended up liking it. So I don't know. I guess the rest is still occurring right now, but that's pretty much a sum up of how we started. Johnny Slicks. Yeah.
Good.
Are you still talking?
No, you're done.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
So I'm gonna go to, or anybody who'll take it, Casey, you can take it. One of the biggest things that I get a lot is money to start a business. So we just heard Johnny was selling his blood and semen. So what did you do? What did you sell, Casey?
What's that?
So what did you sell?
The fortunate thing I had was an opportunity. I was in a very dark place, as many of you probably can understand and relate to. I had no history at all. In business or management. All I had was pretty much the military, and then I was in the oil field driving trucks alone all the time. I was never in charge of anybody in the oil field, just myself. So this huge opportunity I was given, it was still 99% up to me to make it what I could. So the money came from my mom and my stepdad. The opportunity did too. Probably like I said, before the 6-month mark, every single thing in my body said, F this. You're barely making money. You moved back in with your mom, who you never even lived with before. Everything, it just felt wrong. But I kept at it. I started over 7 different times after the military. I was just tired of starting over. And I felt really bad at first. I was like, look, I don't have any money in the game. I don't even have any money to give you. And I would tell my stepdad this, and he's like, we understand. This is what we want to do. So with their experience and I guess my drive, really, we figured it out. The first year, I think we hit like 250 for the year. Not bad.
That's really good first year.
Second year, we hit 560. And we also had 5 trucks, 5 crews. Third year, we hit 7 figures. And this year, I don't even know about the numbers. I don't really care about the numbers right now. The only numbers I do know and I care about are the number of guys on my crews. I have 14. I have 4 trucks, 4 crews, and my wife, she's a part of the team as well. And what I learned is that opportunity, everybody deserves that opportunity. And it's up to you what you're going to do with it. Yeah, sometimes we don't have money. Sometimes you need to go get money. I promise you, anybody in this room can go get money for any idea or goal they want to reach. I mean, Carl alone, just knowing Carl, I mean, he probably gets annoyed sometimes because I can be like, hey, just talk to Carl. I mean, he has all the answers. And he's like, no, I don't, man. But the cool thing is, yeah, exactly. But the cool thing is, if you look around you, every single one of y'all is an answer because y'all have answers or you know someone else that has answers. So that's exactly how we made it work. Because at first we were like, we have the money to start it, but that's easy. It's money to keep it running. It's money to make it profitable. It's saying, hey, these guys that, get paid hourly, they still got to get paid before you do. And you're like, man, like we made a bunch of money, it looks like, but
and it's all gone.
Where's it going? I tell people the biggest month we ever had, we made 120 grand in 1 month. And everybody's like, that's a lot of money. I'm like, no, it was, but you should have seen how much money we spent. It was insane. So I'm over here thinking, like, where'd all this money come from that we spent? But yeah, so when it comes to like finances and money, I look at like, and I say this all the time to my wife, and you can judge me all you want, I don't care. Money is the easiest thing to make because you can go out and you can literally turn anything into money. I pick up trash for a living and I hit 7 figures last year. So if you're out there saying I can't make money, it means you're not trying hard enough or you haven't asked for help. That's all I have to say. Sorry, took too long.
Belinda, you mentioned a little bit, but can you tell the short story about how you self-invested? And
Yes. So
maybe a story of sacrifice is what it probably sounds like.
So for my first 2 years of business, I knew I was going to have to self-invest every penny back into it to keep going. Not only did I needed to do that to make sure that it was a good place to support myself later, but I didn't have the support of my spouse to keep my business going. I was basically told you're on your own. So every penny I made went right back into my company and product. I did not pay myself for 2 years. So when you hear about ramen diets or anything, or I joke, oh, the only reason I'm so skinny now is because I just don't really eat. I don't feed myself. No, that's the kidding. But it took 2 years to do that. I mean, it's not an easy thing. You're not going to make money overnight. But, being forced into that situation actually helped me because I'm able to make really good financial decisions now. I hate accounting with every fiber of my being. It's just not me, and so I make sure someone else does that for me. But one of the things, if you haven't ever heard of Profit First, that was a methodology that I started following as an entrepreneur to make sure I was always paying myself, even if it was a small percentage of what I was making, that I had money coming to me. That way I wouldn't be in a position where I pay my people and I buy the things I need to buy, and guess what? There's no money left for me on the end of the day, so I can go get some Happy Meals after school gets out. So it's just one of those things that always being mindful. There are people out there that will support you and give you money. I have had investors come to my doorstep that they fully support the ideas that I have rolling. I have not pulled the trigger on that because I am still very much scared about letting someone down if something doesn't work out. And I think that's where a lot of my fear is, but I'm starting to let go of that fear so I know that I can scale my business because it takes money to make money. And the more that you're able to put into it, I'm finding, in my situation, the more I'm able to get a return out of as well. So today, I do have very minimal debt. Probably, I think I have like a $10,000 credit card. It is not maxed, thank goodness. And I've got a building that I also have my business in, and I've remodeled a space above it for me to live in. And I live simply, and it's just beautiful for me, and that's how I've been able to thrive and keep going.
I really suck with money, so I'm actually still in a massive amount of debt. I read Profit First like 3 months ago. Really wish I would have read that 3 years ago. No, I mean, it was the same thing. So I've tried to tell a lot of veterans this and stuff, and State Farm's probably one of the best kept secret companies or businesses that you can have. You don't buy in. It doesn't cost money. They give you a book of business. There's some give and take there. I don't own the book of business either. But we sold our house in Savannah when we moved back here. We had money from that. And I mean, I started the business. I had $20,000 in cash, and I had some pretty big credit cards because I had, at that time, before I started the business, I had great credit, which is no longer the case. But that's kind of how I started. I mean, would they give it to you? So mine wasn't I didn't have to raise funds. Mine was more, they give you some signing bonuses. They give you some different things to kind of get you going, because when you start, you don't have a choice. You have to have a storefront. You have to have a sign. You have to have employees, at least a couple, one or two. And so that's how ours was. Just from there, it's managing the money correctly, which I did a poor job of. I was very, very aggressive and grew very, very quickly, and that just gets really expensive. I have something to show for the debt. I just have to, I didn't pay myself for 2 years. I think I took home technically I think I paid myself like $12,000 last year, and this year I'm going to pay myself like 45. That's probably what I'll end up taking home, and hopefully that'll grow significantly. But the money management piece is I know that's not really the question, but it's a totally different world. But it's, you learning.
That will probably come into like our biggest failures question.
Yeah, great. Okay, good. I've got that covered then. That's it. So money from the house, just trying to save that, and then having my wife on board. That was a big deal. Trying to help her understand and make her see what it's going to take to be an agent, because I was not getting paid a lot as a team member for that guy, and I did that for 2.5 years. So we just kind of rented and made it work until I could, start taking some money home.
What was the question? Sacrifice?
Basically, but no, like initial investment, and how did you start the money?
Well, you guys already know about my plasma thing, but I heard each one of you guys talk about when you were able to take money from your profiting business. We were fortunate enough to be able to pull 9 months, 10 months, right? Is that what? The barbershops. When Nick forced, that is a good point. Nice. I was working at a barbershop. I went to barber school. Unfortunately, the situation didn't result in me graduating barber school.
Fortunately.
Fortunately?
Yeah, you said unfortunately. It's fortunately.
I mean, I was so close to finishing, though. It was like, I could have just stayed. All right, anyway. Unfortunately, I didn't finish, but I did work at a barbershop as a receptionist, which sounds just as elegant as it is. Yeah, really. But it was really difficult for me to be able to make that next step, to really jump into the pool of business. I was doing Johnny Slick's stuff maybe, twice a week, 3 times a week, like not barely any. And I was at the barbershop every other day. And it was really, really difficult for me to be able to just do it, to put everything I have into Johnny Slick's, all the sacrifices I made, to just make it worth it and do Johnny Slick's full time. It was really difficult. And one day I called him up, and we were on FaceTime, and he
Please don't quote me exactly.
I'm not going to quote you. I'm going to censor myself. He used some vulgar language that kind of spoke to me and told me, like, stop not doing it, I guess. Is that how can I censor what you said?
Never stop stopping.
Never stop, never stopping. He told me, stop doing what you're doing. Jump in, and just see what happens. The biggest thing that I will regret is not jumping in. And he was 100% right. And I know he's going to love this because it's on camera. And I'm saying that he was right. But yeah, he was. It was me just tiptoeing around, not actually dedicating 100% of everything I have and all my efforts and energy into my passion and my dream. At the time, I was at the barber. That was my only source of income. I didn't have any other source. Obviously, my wife, she worked, so we had rent paid, but I didn't have any other way of making money. And he told me, he's like, once you go in full with this, we're not taking any money for a good while. And I said, I don't know, man. That doesn't sound too good to me, you know? Maybe I'll stay at the barber shop and just make cash. I mean, that sounds pretty good. And he said, you either do it or you don't. You got to go in or you're not in at all. And I ended up jumping in and made a bunch of sacrifices along the way. But I mean, that was something that I had to overcome mentally. I like to have all of my ducks in a row, which I'm sure a lot of you can compare to and agree with. But sometimes they're in a row and you just can't see them. You just gotta trust yourself and trust your work and your energy, and trust that everything you sacrifice is worth it, and just jump in and go for it. And it worked out. And most of the time, I think it does.
I think all four of you can agree it's 100% a gamble, but it's something that you have to jump in with both feet. You can't really have one foot in. You have to go all in. All right. So before we talk about failures, I'm going to start taking questions. So if I jump down and take this microphone in there, is it going to go crazy? Okay. All right. So who's got the first question? Or I'm just going to put the microphone in your face. Who started a business? Oh, there we go, Dad. Perfect.
I don't really have a question.
Well, just ask a question.
Okay, so I'm actually starting a business, and I've been listening to what they have to say. I'm going about it a little bit different. I'm not an entrepreneur. I'm buying into an existing franchise that is already created the will. My question is for the young lady up there, that you actually are an entrepreneur, so you're starting out, you're just actually recreating the wheel. That's a big gamble, because I worry about how I'm going to continue to pay bills, and I'm using all my retirement, so I'm leveraging 100% of my retirement for this, but I've already bought into a process that works, and you didn't. How did you convince yourself that I'm going to do this no matter what?
Well, most of mine was out of necessity. If I didn't do it, then I was pretty much going to close my doors. So I had to figure out what was going to work. And it's kind of funny because I went back into that military mindset of developing an SOP and doing lots of AARs after each and everything that I did to figure out what was working, what didn't. And it was trial and error, trying something for a little bit and giving it enough time to see if it was effective. And say, okay, this works, this doesn't. Okay, we need to go in a different direction. And on each decision I'd have to make, I'd have to go in and put all my eggs in that basket and really push home with it to make it as successful as possible. If it didn't, you know what? It was a learning experience. I learned what wasn't going to work in that instance, and then I switched up and I tried something new. And then after a while, it's just like testing the waters and see what's going to work. But you got to go big or go home, or you're not going to know or get the full scope of your project or what you're working on at that time.
Excellent. Boone Cutler, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you. I'll pay you later. Quick question, maybe not so quick, and feel free to grab it, whoever wants it, and add to it. Military service. We have not been civilians. We've come from the military. So in what part of your military service do you think has been a true benefit, when it came time to start business? What did you learn from there that other people can draw from that they're not paying attention to? And is there anything that has been a negative that you learned in the military that you had to overcome in business?
That's a great question.
Yeah, we got that. Okay, so I think the negative first was when I just come out. I'd never sold anything in my life, and I was selling over the phone. And as we talked about, or as our first speakers were talking about earlier about your communication, and I forgot the numbers, 7, 38, 98, 10, 72, 48, 30, whatever. So when you're over the phone and you're not talking, they can't see you, you lose a lot of that, right? So all they have is your voice inflection, and I didn't have any. I was very direct, and I was very to the point, and I just got out of the military. So what is the point of having like a fluffy conversation? Just give me the damn information and I'll give you a quote. Like what's so hard about that? And I'd made more dials, and I quoted more people than anyone in the entire office. And there was like 30 of them, and I defied all laws of mathematics because I sold the least. And I couldn't figure out how the hell that was happening. Because they tell you law of averages and all that. They're like, just call more, quote more. I'm like, I'm crushing all of y'all, and I've sold nothing. And so finally, my manager came to me and she started listening to me and she was like, I figured it out. I think I know what's up. And I was like, give it to me. I got thick skin. Trust me, I've had guys screaming on my face like this. I was a Ranger. I can take it. She's like, that's the problem. I was like, what? And she's like, you're an asshole. You sound like an asshole. That's it. And I was like, okay. She's like, you need finesse.
How do you fix being an asshole?
Yeah. I was like, sweet. I'm not going to say the exact ways because we're on camera, but so it was finesse the way and I was like, okay, so I have to sound, and for me, it was, and a lot of guys, regardless of your background, but especially military, veterans, police officers, stuff like that are going to try to sell, especially over the phone. You have to feminize your voice to a degree and get a lot of energy and feel really ridiculous. And I was like, I would hang up on this guy in a second if I called me. But then what I didn't know at the time was that your body, since there is no body language and stuff, you would never talk to someone face to face like that. But you know, if you feel and you're really, really energetic over the phone, it doesn't translate that way. It just translates like you don't hate yourself and life and you're gonna kill somebody. You know, like but if you talk just like this, really close, like, all right, so give me Brett, what's your, you live here in Texas? Yeah. Okay, give me your driver's license. All right, what's your address? What kind of car you drive? Okay. You can't do that. You're not going to sell anything. But like, you sound like you're going to kill yourself. And then, but if you're on the other side, that was, you know, so I had to learn how to do the finesse. And then the biggest thing has been management and leadership and leading people. So we were all as a veteran, you've been around the guys, especially like if you're on an enlisted side, but I would imagine it's the same thing with officers, just, you know, around the camera. So never mind. I remember there were NCOs, there were leaders that guys would run through the wall for. I'm like, everybody loved him, no matter what. It was just like, oh, that's your first sergeant, man. Hey, that guy's awesome. I love that guy. Like, I'll cut my arm off right now for that guy. And I'm like, what the hell is up with, like, who is this? Why? Why is this guy such a great leader? Like, why does this guy, who doesn't even work under him, want to run through a wall for him? Like, I don't know what makes him different. And then there was the guy, the leader, who, as a privates, you could hear their NCO, their, let's say, staff sergeant tells the E6 tells the E5, hey, make sure that they clean this and do this, this, and this. And you hear it, and he forgets part of it. And your subordinates or your privates don't remind him because he's a dick, and they hate him. And he's not a leader. He's not a good leader. He's an asshole, but they're not even going to help him. They'd rather get smoked the next day because they didn't clean the bathrooms because they want to see that guy fail. They're just happy that he's also going to get smoked and get in trouble. And to me, that was something that fascinated me. I was wondering why, and I think that through our military leadership experience, you get to see you have to take care of your guys, you have to take care of your people, you have to take care of your Joes. You hear that over and over again. You have to sacrifice. And if you in the military, we all had leaders that put their guys first. They let them go home. They'll stay. They'll do what, they put their stuff first. And that's how they got people to run through the walls. They didn't care about themselves. They weren't going to make themselves look good despite others. They were going to make the others look good despite themselves. And the guys that in military world, if you come with that in the civilian world, it's the exact same way. When I first started, agents had, they'd ask me, oh, you've had a lot of turnover. I had the same team. I've had the same team since I started. And I had girls where I was literally having to push them out. It's like, guys, you have kids, you have a husband. It's 7 o'clock at night. You need to go home. Like, this is ridiculous. And it was our first year. And in State Farm, you have to prove basically that you're going to be good for the first year. You don't get a permanent contract. You basically get fired after 13 months. And they're like, no, we got to have our contract. We got to get our contract. But it was because I looked back and it was, I was joking with one of the guys earlier and was just like, man, you learn so much more about it in the military than you really realize. Like, turns out I did learn more than just how to shoot a rifle. It was leading and taking care of my people beneath me.
No, it was good. I think that kind of that answered both, kind of the good and the bad. Excellent. Any other questions before I just jump in? Anybody got a burning question? No? Okay. Oh, boy. Good luck, guys.
Don't give me that.
I'm wondering for Belinda and for Johnny, you kind of answered it a little bit, Johnny, but what made you decide to do the brick and mortar? You know, what and why did you decide to kind of just get out of just doing online stuff? And then what is your future ideas for what you'd like to do for where you want your products?
So still a majority of my business is online, and it has been. I certainly would never have had to open a storefront or anything, and I would have been completely fine and felt like I was being successful. However, my business is founded on the principles and around my community, and I can't tell you how many times I heard, man, I wish I could just touch and feel everything you have in your shop in a shop. We want to come see it, and it's really, a lot of people have bought into it. It's not just like a store now, it's a lot of culture. People talk about going to have coffee at Rural, because I have a full coffee bar there too. They'll hang out, they'll shop. It's usually where women in the area go for Girls' Day. We have cute little Amish kids without, they're not usually in shoes, so they're barefoot running in and getting frappes and everything else. And, I'm glad I made the decision to open that for the community, because I certainly would never have had to open my doors, but I felt like it was something I needed to give back to them for supporting me, and I'm glad I did. I get to see them all the time. I still even work a couple days up front in the store and rotate in just so I can see a lot of my customers and be that face, because I certainly wouldn't have my business without them. Now, as far as going forward in the future, I love having my store in that small town. I definitely feel like the business mind of me is telling me I could have more elsewhere, and that's what a lot of those investors have been tapping at my door for, as far as opening up in larger spaces like San Antonio, and I had an offer in Charlotte. I'm not ready to pull the trigger yet. I want to be comfortable and feel like I'm stable before I do something like that, but it is something I'm looking at in the future, and it may not even just be the same thing in a separate location. It may be a completely different scope, because I like to be as diverse as possible. Something may not work out tomorrow, and I think we were actually having this discussion more so in the terms of where we put our marketing and where our business thrives from, but just having different avenues is very important, because business definitely works in cycles. You might be the thing this year, and next year you might be dead on your feet and need to move on to something else. So I'm going to be looking at different options as far as location, and I'm actually expanding into wholesale retailers that will be carrying my product. And so that's going to be happening within the next year and a half. I'll be scaling for that.
Brick and mortar and retail stores. Now we do have a retail, an area you can come and buy the products. I don't think it's the way we want to take the business. I do enjoy it, and the only reason I enjoy it is because I get to meet the customers. I get to hear their stories. I would say 99% of them are vets by us, so I absolutely love it. I love talking to them, taking pictures. I let them try some products. That's the only reason I really, really enjoy having a place where people can come and buy things. We do see the future as e-commerce. We see it, and that's where we want to head. The only downfall is you can't meet the people, and that's the only thing that I'm going to have to adjust to. But e-commerce is where the money is. Now, I'm not speaking negatively about retail stores by any means. There is a need for them. It's just not the way. It's not the way we want to take our business.
Casey, for your business, how important is marketing?
Marketing is probably the most important thing for my business, because I need a lot of leads. I probably would say I need 300 leads a month, where some people are like, holy cow, that's a lot. Of those 300 leads, my job is to close every single one of them. And I'm probably not, right? But
do you know what the percentage is?
Right now,
out of 300, yeah.
About 85%.
That's amazing.
But it's because we keep it very tight. Okay, so I don't spend a lot of money on things we don't need. We don't do Google AdWords, but I have my guys take review cards to give to the customers. Hey, if you thought we did a good job, go leave us a review. My name is so-and-so. This is so-and-so. If you mention our names, we actually get points to go towards our incentive at the end of the month. And people find that having that personal connection to a business, they rather leave a review for Belinda, she did such a great job. Not just, hey, J-Dog did awesome. It was, hey, she took care of me. And it hits you 2 times. Yard signs, something very
Leave reviews where?
online. I
So
mean,
Google, Facebook?
anywhere. Facebook, Google. We have Google, Facebook, Yelp are the 3 main ones.
And what have you found is the biggest?
Facebook.
Facebook is the
Facebook,
biggest.
because it leads to Google, and then Google leads back right to Facebook. But I would say it's funny, as a company, we have 1 bad review, and it has my name on it. And it's a very bad one, too. And I wasn't even on the job, but that's the good thing about being
That's the way it goes.
a business owner, right? Casey promised this. Casey did this. I'm like, oh, my God, all right, whatever. But I like that review because it makes you real, okay? If you're all 5-star this, 5-star that, and you have 1,000 reviews, all right, well, where are you real? Where are you messing up, you know? And marketing is a really good way to tell that, because first year, we spent a lot of money on marketing. Second year, we saved a lot because we're like, wow, that was a waste of money. Like for me, for instance, newspapers, billboards, they don't work. Yard signs that are $3 a yard sign, or door hangers that are very inexpensive, those are 100% guaranteed to work. Handwritten letters, you just got to get very creative.
And it sounds like you had to find out what marketing worked for your business.
Absolutely. Yeah, especially in the area you're in. In my area, we have a big mixture. You have an affluent area, then you have just a different demographic all around. And then you got country, where it's like, hey, I can burn my own junk. All right, well, cool, you know. And then you got people that just don't want to touch anything. But you got to figure out who your demographic is, who your market is, and then market to them. So yeah, marketing is probably the number one most important thing.
Do you give credit to figuring out how to market and then throwing that in, investing in that area of marketing to the growth of your company?
Absolutely. One thing my wife does is actually she handles all the marketing, and she is a genius, very creative. I think her and I
Very
could,
smart to say that, by the way.
Yeah, it's on camera too, you know. Not just an infantryman, or I am, you know. But no, I mean it's true. She has great ideas, and so do I. So her and I will get together, and you know, my idea is better. No, my idea is better. Oh, okay, well, you win. But yeah, it's one of those things where the way we market our company, it needs to be different than the way she markets, the way he markets, right? The way he markets, right? He says, hey, having a brick and mortar may not be what y'all need in the future, right? For me, we started in my mom's kitchen, and now we have a 7,000 square foot warehouse and an acre yard, where before we just had a kitchen. And now we figured out how to be efficient,
right,
how to give back, how to recycle, how to keep our costs down, but at the same time, multiply how much we're giving back to the communities. But what that required is more upfront costs, more overhead, you know? So it's just different, every business, you know?
Excellent.
Yeah.
Belinda, do you market?
Oh yeah, oversaturated fashion. That industry is crazy. How many Facebook ads do you guys see if you're on Facebook? You scroll and you see clothing ads, right? I know every girl in here that shops online is going to get one of those. So the biggest thing for me is I can't compete with those large companies that have that much money. So I got to be smart about where I put my marketing dollars. Whether it's focusing on Google search terms that are very specific. So instead of wanting someone to look at women's online boutique, I may be targeting that girl that's looking for a farmer t-shirt, like a comfy t-shirt. Because you know what, if she's searching that on Google, more than likely she's gonna buy something with that on it that day. And so I try to target those niche items. I also focus heavily on my return customer base. They will come back and spend the most money time and time again. And so that's why I spend a lot of time investing in my community that supports me and my customers, not only that I can see in person, but also online. I keep in contact with them quite a bit and try to bring them back. I'll ask for their feedback for reviews. If I got an awful review, like he said, that's good feedback. You want to be able to grow and have those opportunities to make yourself better, or maybe get a better product. Maybe people aren't liking something that you have and you need to change it up a little bit or make it better. And so, yes, I do heavily buy into a lot of social media marketing to get the images in front of people, either organically through us posting often, or maybe in a smaller group setting. We have a Facebook group where we interact more on a personal level on what's going on, and that seems to be where my biggest bang for my buck is. I did do the newspaper for a while. Wasn't really much for me because I had the coffee bar. Still didn't really see it there, but I gave it a try to see. Tried billboard since we're in a very heavily traveled highway route. Didn't really work for me either. Word of mouth has been huge, so I try to take care of my people so they take care of me.
What's the biggest, as far as the actual dollars that you invest into marketing, what's the biggest return that you've seen?
It honestly depends on the campaign. There have been some Facebook campaigns I've ran that I've had a 40% ROI on, and then a lot that have maybe gotten a 0.5, which is a loss, right? But what I have found is those high returns come from retargeting ads, targeting the people
I'm so glad you brought that up.
Yeah, that have already hit my site, and I'm putting something in front of them that they've already seen or checked out quite a bit. Maybe in a week, maybe in 30 days. Maybe they bought from me, and I'm going to hit them up in 30 days with an ad to remind them, hey, did you love that? Here's some other things you might love. It works amazingly, and that's why I really focus on that, because it's much better to focus on those people that are already in your wheelhouse than casting this huge net and hoping something sticks.
Before we get into that, I'd just say, like, if people are like, well, I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to do retargeting. I don't know how to do marketing. I don't know how to do Facebook ads, that sort of thing. It's called Google and YouTube. You just figure it out. And that's pretty much, I would say that pretty much everybody here has done anything has probably just looked it up and figured it out, and probably messed it up a couple times before they figured it out. But the answers are out there.
Marketing is definitely extremely important for my business as well. I mean, yes, so I don't pay for, and yes, State Farm does pretty lame commercials, and they have stuff everywhere. They have a brand.
They're hilarious. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I know, they're great. That's still just State Farm. It's just brand awareness of the general brand. Our biggest thing that I do with the marketing is, I buy leads, so I can buy leads that people are shopping and stuff, and those have worked all right, but our biggest thing is, and goal behind a lot of our marketing, is differentiation, because I don't make money from another State Farm agent's business. We are all separate businesses, so I have to either, whether it's a community stuff, getting involved in the community, doing different things, showing that we're real people, and differentiating me. Why, if you're going to go to, if you need insurance, then I want you to go to State Farm because we're the best. But if you're also going to go, now if you get to the point where you're like, I want State Farm, there's 19,000 agents. There's more State Farm agents than there are McDonald's in the United States. So what makes you go, how do I get you to come to me and not the guy that's a mile and a half down the road? And so that's where a lot of our marketing and doing community events and stuff.
So you predominantly you don't do signage. You're not doing.
So I do,
ads.
yeah. So
Okay.
well, I can't pay. I don't. So I'm in here in Fort Worth. So like a billboard is more than my rent a month. I mean, it's massive. So I thought something that I love, and I can see that there's some risky areas. I know Houston and maybe the state of Louisiana has a lot of. It's very litigious. They sue a lot. But here we don't as much. So car wraps are awesome. And I mean, you pay like $1,500 or $1,200 or whatever it is, and now that thing goes everywhere. I mean, it's a billboard. It's just on wheels.
Yeah, Casey just said that's their biggest one as well. I'm glad you
Absolutely.
brought that up.
Oh, it's massive.
Because it's cheaper. So I know a lot of businesses, and I don't know if you are actually paying the lease or the payment on the vehicle and then having them wrap it. And
Yep.
then because now you're spending, say, $300 on a car, which is like 10% of what a billboard would cost.
Exactly.
And it's all over town. So.
And it's going where, so one of my goals, and I'm not there yet, but is to have a fleet of my own. Like you're going to have a employee car. Like you get a work car. And because my mentor's got 8 or 9 cars, they all have his name and phone number and everything else on it. Well, his girls are going to pick up their kids at the game, and then they're going to shopping, and they're going to their cars are everywhere, and it's all inside the community. So it's just getting that brand out and seeing that person's name over and over and over again. And that's my Jeep is the same thing.
So stand by, Fort Worth. You're going to see Stephen Barber's face everywhere.
No, I don't put my face on anything because I do want to sell stuff. So I just put my name, and then, maybe like I've got some pretty girls that work for me. I'll have to put them on there. But the only other marketing that I do that I didn't come up with it at all, but I call it it's like hobby marketing. So for me, especially since everybody has insurance, and you kind of have to have insurance in your car, and if you don't, you need it. I don't like hitting people up, and I can see it in their face. It's kind of awesome when they're like, "So what do you do for a living?" And I'm like, "I'm a State Farm agent." And just like watch them because they're like, "Oh God!" Because they're thinking in their head for a second, like, "This guy's gonna sell me insurance," and I have insurance, and he's gonna make me buy insurance. I don't want to tell. It's just they get all weird for just a second. Or they have State Farm. They're like, "I already have State Farm." "Oh yeah, I love State Farm. I have State Farm already." I'm like, wow, I was not going to go there at all. But one of the things is getting involved in your community, in things and hobbies that you like doing. And then I don't hand out business cards and hit people up or solicit. I just make sure they all know that I'm a State Farm agent and that I do insurance. And I love bass fishing. So I sponsor kayak bass fishing. I do kayak bass fishing. So I don't talk about it. But eventually these guys start asking me questions, and they start wanting advice. And then eventually they're just like, "Hey, you know what? Would you give me a quote? I'd rather just have my business with you now." And when you build that personal relationship, but you can't do it in things you don't give a damn about. If you care about that organization, whether it's Rotary or Gallantfew or whatever, I don't care, taking care of pets, that's something that it's got to be genuine for you personally. But you can take that time. That's why I've got a Jeep, and I love taking it off road and crawling around. And that's a cult in itself, and that's been really beneficial. But I wouldn't get into that if I didn't care about Jeeps. It would be you're just doing it for money, and you're doing it for leads, and then people can sense it, and
it's not authentic.
It's terrible. Yeah. That's a bad way to go.
Yeah. So I'm unfortunate because I'm sitting at the end, so all you guys already spoke. So all right. Well, anyway, with marketing, I have a kind of different viewpoint on marketing. I don't think anybody really has the answer to marketing. And I think everybody here would agree. There's marketing experts, but they really advise you to what maybe your demographic is and how you can reach them. But to say marketing is, yes, we market. Yeah, we do. Facebook, Instagram, any type of social media, because that's where the future is. That's where it's going, and that's where we reach everybody all the time. We were actually just talking about it, how commercials on TV. Most people, you guys watch Netflix, Hulu. Some of you still have cable. But when your commercial comes on, what do most of you guys do? You whip out your phone, you go on Facebook, right? All of a sudden, that commercial that was paid for on TV got ignored, and now you're looking at my ad on Facebook that was free. Yeah. So we like to focus on marketing when it comes to the future and what we plan to do, our future steps, and how we can best reach the people that we want to reach. But of course, like I said, it's hit or miss with marketing. A lot of the time you miss. And to stop,
that's how you figure out what works.
Yeah, exactly. You can do five misses in a row, and you're like, this doesn't work. I'm gonna hire somebody. But little did you know that next try that you do, you reach a different demographic, or you put $2 extra on that ad. Yeah, guess what? That worked, and you had a return of 5 times, 6 times, 7 times. And you found the gold mine there, so you just keep putting money behind it. But until then, you're gonna miss a lot, and we have missed a lot more than we've hit. But every hit is a learning experience, and we take it like that.
So unfortunately, that is it. We have to get to the next speaker. Any burning questions? Give these guys a round of applause. Doing awesome.